Hi, this is Joy at Pine Quilt Shop. We're going to talk about cutting fabric for borders on your quilt today. So I have laid out in front of me 3 different types of fabric. One is a border stripe, one is a very obviously directional print, and one is a basic fabric non-directional print. So when you go to cut border fabric, the first decision you have to make is if you're going to cut your borders across the width of the fabric, or if you're going to cut your borders down the length of the fabric. Now, with a print like this that's not directional, you can easily cut it length of fabric or width of fabric. This border stripe, you have no choice. You have to cut that length of fabric. You wouldn't obviously want to cut it across the borders. You have to cut it down and follow the stripes. This fabric that is the directional print can be cut length of fabric or width of fabric, but you may choose to cut it length of fabric if you want your borders to all be oriented so that they were all going in the same direction. So if you want to have your side borders going the same way, so the elephants are all right side up, and the same thing with your top and bottom borders, what you'll have to do with a fabric like this is to cut it both length and width of fabric. So generally what we would say to do with a fabric like this, if you want them all oriented the same way, is to cut length of fabric strips for your side borders, and then from the remaining fabric, cut width of fabric strips for your top and bottom borders. And then your animals will all be oriented the same way. The one thing you want to keep in mind though, is if you are cutting borders for a large bed quilt, you may not want the animals on those side borders going this way. You may want to go ahead and cut all your fabric strips with the fabric, because as it drapes off the side of the bed, the animals will be oriented correctly. If you put length of fabric strips on as it drapes off the side of the bed, your animals will be sideways. So think about the size of your quilt. Is it a bed quilt or is it a smaller throw size before you make your determination on whether you're going to cut your fabric strips length or width of fabric. Join us for some additional tips on cutting border fabric in other videos.